We have some breaking news. In a terrible ruling, the Supreme Court has gotten rid of affirmative action in college admissions. Affirmative action allowed for race to be considered as a factor in the admission process because universities had a compelling interest in maintaining diverse campuses. And it certainly worked. It allowed for people of color who at one point were barely even present at higher education institutions to now be represented at some of the best in America. Giving that opportunity was crucial, but now in a 6-3 ruling, the crazy conservative justices on the Supreme Court overturned it. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman on the Supreme Court, called the ruling a tragedy for us all. And Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the first Hispanic on the Supreme Court, wrote that the court stands in the way and rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress. This is exactly why elections matter and voting for Democratic presidents is so important. Because if we keep electing Democratic presidents, we get to control the Supreme Court.
Look, it's heartbreaking for our democracy. Our democracy is stronger when our leadership is diverse. And moving to a place where selective institutions do not have the tool of race-conscious admissions means that we will see fewer Black and Latino students in those institutions. We will see fewer Black and Latino students prepared for leadership roles, whether it's in government, business, the military. And so it is now incumbent on us in the higher education sector to do everything we can to preserve a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
My nationality is Ecuadorian. I also come from the state of New Mexico, both extremely underrepresented communities at Harvard specifically. I am the only Ecuadorian student that I know of in my year at Harvard.
The only Ecuadorian student in your year.
Right, at Harvard. And so I think it's just like, I don't know. I hope that this is an opportunity for Harvard to step up in its recruitment, to step up in other efforts, but I think it would also be wrong of me to say that I'm not scared.
So now you have a right-wing Trump court, because let's not forget Trump nominated a third of the sitting court, 9 members, 3 of which Trump put on there, that is saying, well, we'll protect your voting rights on Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and then we're going to pull the rug from under you in terms of you being able to have an even consideration. We're not even talking about a mandatory, a consideration of race to higher education. My last point that really is frightening to me is now in the private sector, corporations, many of whom made pledges around the George Floyd movement that didn't live up to them, can now say, well, we can't consider race in terms of contracts and employment and board members and what we do in the community, because the court now is saying it's unconstitutional. This is a tremendous setback that must be resisted by every corner, including the Department of Justice and including states, because what they have said is that it is unconstitutional to even consider race.
Do you think that at this stage that colleges can, find ways to, as you point out, standardized tests, not to use the standardized tests, which clearly advantage those schools, those kids who come from schools that have, all kinds of tutoring and special prep programs for the SATs and other tests?
Well, I do think they can move away from standardized tests, and I think they can look at a person's essays. Again, Robert says that you can talk about race as part of your life, and the reality is race matters. Race is consequential to people's lives, and so if we are being honest about the adversity folks face, the challenges they overcome, they're going to talk about race, and I think that the colleges are going to have to figure out how they do that while being consistent with the court decision. But from talking to university presidents who expected this decision, it's not really a surprise. They are candid that this is going to be a challenge, and they're concerned about the leaders that they're going to be producing for American society. They know that this country is 60% white, non-Hispanic, that it is incredibly diverse, that race continues to be a polarizing issue, dividing our nation, and they're concerned whether they're going to be able to expose people to all of the diversity of this country that is necessary for them to produce great leaders.